Hello, everyone. We are live and welcome to Leadership Dolce, Sweet Morsels of Wisdom. I am Joanne Newborn, and I am an executive leadership coach, a certified executive leadership coach. And I just want to welcome everyone here this evening. And tonight I am going to be talking about how to become a mesmerizing leader. And I have three unlikely tools that you might not consider leadership tools. So I thought we would have some fun with that this evening. And just so you know a little bit about me, I spent 18 years in the corporate landscape, and I had seen that and witnessed and experienced that there's a real lack of leadership out there. And it's not anyone's fault in a sense, because people really didn't do leadership training, a while back. Now it's becoming more in fashion, and that's what I do. But back then, people really, they just got promoted and you went into a role that was the next level for your career, but no one ever trained anyone how to be a great leader. And so I felt very passionate about it because I had worked for some really wonderful companies along my journey. So I'm very passionate about helping career-focused individuals who feel frustrated and stressed out and unfulfilled to really create that leadership mindset for themselves so they can attain their dream job with their ideal salary. And I like to say a guilt-free, luxurious work-life balance. Just a little bit about me. I also have my MBA from Penn State. I graduated with Beta Gamma Sigma honors. I earned my credential with the International Coaching Federation, and I'm also a certified diversity, equity, and inclusion coach. And since I left my corporate career behind, and I became a full-time CEO and founder of my own company, Newborn Evolution, I have coached managers, directors, senior directors, VPs, and CEOs at over 40 companies, including companies like Microsoft and Accenture and AT&T and PGA and Chobani and Penn State, my alma mater, just to name a few. So I really love what I do. I'm very passionate about it. I think I said that like 12 times already. So additionally, I'm also an international course developer and subject matter expert for several organizations. So let's jump into our topic tonight. I want to ask you, have you ever seen or felt leaders that just kind of have a je ne sais quoi? Right? There's something about them that you wanted to be near them, you wanted to learn from them, you wanted to emulate them, but you couldn't quite put your finger on what it was that they were actually doing that made them so mesmerizing. So three of those tools I'm going to be sharing with you tonight. And like I mentioned, these are unlikely tools. So you may hear me talk about these and you might say to yourself, huh? Like, what does this have to do with leadership? So the first thing I'm going to say is trust the process. Trust the process and then try them out. So let's start with tool number one. And I'm going to tell you, I'm a little bit more tired than I normally am. I usually have a lot of energy, and I feel, I get energy from you guys. So I was exhausted. I didn't even know how I was going to do this. And as soon as, I'm here with all of you, you're feeding my energy, which is lovely. So thank you. And I had gotten up incredibly early. I'm talking like 4 a.m. 3 times this week. And I will tell you more about why after I talk about tool number one, because this feeds into tool number one. So when I first began to learn about Eastern philosophies, I began to learn the meaning behind gratitude. And that's tool number one, gratitude, and its importance of both inner and outer peace. And to me, it became more heartfelt than an intellectual thought, because a lot of people do gratitude journals, and it's a very concrete thing to do. And that never resonated with me. And I knew I was supposed to be grateful, but I wasn't getting it, right? It wasn't really resonating with me. And then I realized for me, myself, rather than it being something that I just write down, it really became heartfelt. I felt it in my heart. And that's why I didn't understand the importance at first. I was trying to intellectualize it. So I started to go through my days. And when something touched me emotionally, I would stop and observe that I was grateful for that moment. And gratitude for me became about moments, not things, right? I wasn't grateful for things that I had. I was grateful for moments that happened to me in my life, which were really amazing. I'm grateful for sunsets. And I know that sounds so cheesy, but I love sunsets. To me, a sunset is like a piece of artwork that is like in motion and constantly changing. I mean, it's so beautiful, and the colors are so beautiful. I love taking photos of them, but even more than taking photos of them, I just love watching them change. So I'm grateful for beautiful sunsets and for the feeling that they invoke in me, not just the sight of sunsets, or little kind gestures from strangers. And what happened was, once I tapped into the emotion, the moments of gratitude I was experiencing actually multiplied in infinite numbers. It's like they were shooting off like fireworks on the 4th of July. And I didn't have to tell anyone. That was sort of the beauty of it also. It was sometimes I just got to have my own little reserve of sunshine that came in the form of gratitude. And sometimes maybe I walk around with a little Mona Lisa smile during these moments, and no one needs to know why. And I'm grateful that I discovered gratitude, because honestly, I think I was probably walking around in a fog for most of my life. And I do think most people are walking around in a fog, sadly. And we're obsessed with what we don't have, right? Wanting what we don't have, and I'm guilty of that as well. So I'm not saying this harshly. And rather than seeing all the beauty that is actually already in our lives. And so the interesting thing about the universe is that it gives us more of what we're grateful for. And also, if we focus on it, it will give us more of what we are in lack of, right? If we're focusing on lack, we will receive more lack. If we're focusing on what we're grateful for, we'll receive more of that. So I will share with you why I am so tired. So I had the beautiful opportunity this week to be able to get up at crazy early times, because this morning I was coaching a wonderful team of engineers in India, right? So there's a big time difference there. So for me, it was 6 a.m. The day before that, I also had the beautiful opportunity of attending a training that took place in Singapore. Again, very different time frames. That was at 6:30 in the morning for me. And the day before that, I had the beautiful opportunity to work with a dental client in Massachusetts, and I had a 2.5 hour drive each way, which was actually beautiful and lovely. I didn't have to get on any crazy highways. I kind of went through the woods and things like that. But the point is, I'm grateful. I'm so grateful for these opportunities. And what happens is I keep getting more and more of them, and it's amazing. And so I am a bit tired today, but it's all for good reasons, and lots of gratitude for those reasons. And I will give you another example from my work as well, because in the beginning you might be like, well, what does this have to do with being a leader? You're talking about sunsets and colors, but that's one thing that I just told you. And then I'll also tell you about another time I had a very demanding client, and he literally made my life a living hell. And unfortunately, at that time, I didn't have very good leadership skills. And I passed this uh, energy, this terrible energy onto my own team. And I didn't even realize what I was doing. And I really started to dislike who I was becoming. And in my mind, every day and more frequently, this very loud rant went on in my mind. And the rant was, I hate him, I hate him, I hate him, I hate him. And one day I thought to myself, you know what? Gee, Joanne, that can't be healthy to be chanting this phrase in your mind all the time. So I made a conscious effort to change what the voice was saying in my mind. And I came up with this mantra of what I really wanted from a career perspective. And it was kind of long, but it was so much better than just saying over and over and over again, like how much I couldn't stand this client. So when I started to feel a gratitude for little moments, I kept getting more of those amazing moments. So shortly after, just it was a couple of months later, a career opportunity came my way once I changed that mantra. And I was really grateful. And when you're grateful, you know, for your team and your colleagues and your manager and so on, guess what? They're also going to be grateful for you. And they will provide you with more of what it is that you're grateful for. For example, your team gets a project in on time, or another team that you're collaborating with really steps up and helps you out. When when we have gratitude, and when we really show others appreciation with that gratitude, they're going to be so happy to do that for you again. It makes people feel good. People generally want to help each other out. So when you're grateful and you express this gratitude, you will get more of that. They will feel appreciated. They will go above and beyond. And so I would invite you to be aware and observe when something touches your heart, even if it's a small gesture. So that's tool number one, gratitude. Now, tool number two is non-judgment. So I have a little quote here. The quote is, "Do not judge, or you will be judged. For you will be judged by the same judgment with which you judge others, and it will be measured out to you with the same measure you have used." Now that's from the Bible. That's Matthew 7:1-2. So you can find that in the Bible. And that I thought that that was amazing. And it kind of blew my mind when I read it. And so, you know, such wisdom from such a long time ago. So what happens though, I don't want us to judge ourselves too harshly for having judgment. So what happens is our minds are running on autopilot for most of the day, whether we realize it or not. And it's telling us things all day long. It's probably saying things like, it's time to get up. It's time to make the coffee. That woman's dress is hideous. She needs a makeover. How could that crime happen? What's wrong with people? My mother's driving me crazy. I'm not saying that. Someone else's mind is saying that, but so on. And we don't realize that these thoughts are being fired off throughout the day. And unconsciously, they're unconsciously being fired off. And we've already made the judgment in our mind before we even realize that we've made a judgment. Now, there's nothing wrong with this. Like I said before, there's nothing wrong with this. We all do it, and it's mostly done on autopilot. And I'm sure that there's times when we sit around with friends and we have these really strong conversations and opinions and judgments of others. For example, we might be talking about wars or politics, things that are, you know, very prevalent in today, or the pandemic, you know, and we have very strong opinions and very strong judgments around this. Now, again, there is nothing wrong with having strong opinions and sharing them. However, when we get to a point when our thoughts and opinions and judgments are absolute and finite, it's actually limiting our growth potential and our own peace of mind. And it's limiting our career growth potential as well. So, did you ever think about that person at work who always has to have the loudest, strongest opinion to prove themselves right? I'm sure that you all know that person. So the environment that they're creating is not a productive one. It's stagnating, right? It's like stagnating water, which breeds mosquitoes. As soon as we take the steps to stop judging others, which I will say it is a very difficult thing to accomplish. It takes practice. I catch myself quite often, and then I can stop myself. So so it is difficult, but when we stop judging others, guess what? We stop judging ourselves. We are incredibly hard on ourselves every moment of every day. We're really, really, really hard on ourselves. And if we stopped to take a moment to hear that inner voice that's constantly judging us, we would be shocked to realize that we would never say those sort of things to another human being, and yet we say them to ourselves. So, did you ever think that not judging yourself and truly enjoying the fruits of your labor without saying all the time, I have to be better, I have to be perfect, I have to do this, I have to do that, of just enjoying where you're at, could actually make you more of a career catch at work? Yeah, it's true. And so when we can observe without judgment, people feel that. People really feel it. And you can almost say whatever you want to another person if they can feel that it's said without judgment. It's amazing. It's amazing. And they trust you. And you aren't judging them, right? So they trust you. Even if you say something that might be offensive, when you say it without judgment, they're trusting what's coming out of your mouth. It doesn't mean they're going to agree with you, but they trust you. And they're not afraid to also speak up and voice their own opinions back to you. And they're not afraid to hear yours either. But when we judge, we put out this energy and people feel it, and people will put walls up to protect themselves from being judged. We all do it. And this is where the communication begins to break down, right? Walls go up, communication breaks down. Can you see that? And if you think about, things that we might see on social media about politics and this and that, there's a lot of judgment there. There's a lot of judgment. If we just said what we wanted to say without judgment, we could actually have conversations probably about these things. So this is non-judgment. And again, I invite you to try to really catch yourself hearing your mind judging and just observe it. You don't even need to stop it. I just want you to start observing all the judgmental things that your mind is saying all day long. That's your piece for tool number 2. And then tool number 3 is compassion. And compassion sounds so easy. It just sounds so nice. It's such a lovely word. And you may be thinking, well, of course I have compassion. But for me, it was also a difficult part of the process for me to really embody. Why? Because judgment, which we just talked about, swoops in and immediately overshadows our compassion. It's hard to be compassionate for someone when we're judging them. So our ego mind feels better about itself when it can lay blame to something or someone outside of ourselves. For example, you miss a big deadline and you catch heat for it, but it wasn't your fault. Someone else dropped the ball. So rage and disdain start to build up towards that person because you look like an idiot because of that person's misstep. Well, this happened to me. But rather than getting angry I decided I wanted to peel back the onion as to why this issue happened, rather than just saying it's so-and-so's fault. And I found out that the person who made me miss the deadline actually had a very sick child at home. And I don't mean like the sniffles, and I don't mean like COVID. I mean a very serious, life-threatening disease that the child would have his entire life. And I was filled with compassion, right? Because not making a deadline was so insignificant compared to what her daily trauma was like. And so she had a lot of hospital visits and surgeries and things like that that she had to go and take care of for her child. And so that really, changed the whole story for me. And I found a way for us to work together so that we could achieve a win-win situation. And so we tried it once and then twice. And so I would encourage you to try having compassion once, then twice a week, then maybe once a day or twice a day. And what'll happen is you'll begin to bring a calmness into your own life, which is priceless. And that calmness, again, will draw people to you, right? Will draw people in the workplace to you. This is a leadership quality, right? To be able to stay calm in situations that have high tension. And if you're able to say, well, I need to peel back the onion and see what it is, and maybe I can have compassion for this person rather than, flying off the handle. These are the types of things that make people leaders, really. So compassion is also similar to empathy, which we hear a lot of today, and I'm not going to discuss empathy. It's also very important, but what I wanted to point out is that compassion is the starting point for empathy. Now, empathy is a little bit different, but compassion is the starting point. So we actually cannot be an empathetic leader unless we start with compassion. And that's the point that I wanted to make. So I invite you to take little spoonfuls of each one of these. Each one, gratitude, non-judgment, and compassion. Those are the 3 tools that we learned about today. And as we shift, others start to shift around us. It's really amazing. So I invite you to try it. Just observe what happens. Just take little tiny spoonfuls and then let me know. Come back and let me know what you think. And on this topic, I'm going to do a deeper dive into my August Leadership Transformation League. That's going to be our topic this month. It is my group coaching program that has been running all year. We have 6 months left. So if it's something you're interested in, I have the link there for you to just check it out if you want more information on it. And I want to thank you for joining me. I cannot wait to hear what you discover when you start to utilize gratitude, non-judgment, and compassion as a leader. Thank you so much. And I will see you all next month when I am going to be talking about another very exciting topic, which I know, but I'm going to leave it as a surprise. Okay, I will see you all next month. Thanks for being here. Bye.